Have broken into shops around Mmabatho Mahikeng and Lomanyaneng, stealing thousands of rands worth of goods. To discuss the financial costs of the protests, I'm joined by Economist Raymond Parsons. Raymond, thank you so much for coming in.
Good evening to you.
Today. Lovely to have you. So to start off with, let's talk about the superficial costs of this kind of protest. We've seen the looting, we've seen shops being broken into, we've seen small business owners being, having their businesses destroyed and being forced out of those areas. What is the superficial kind of cost?
Well, it's very difficult because we don't have all the details yet of what has happened in that town as a result of these violent protests. Quite clearly, it's not good for any level of business confidence in that area or even in the province, which I think is why we must underscore the importance of why our president decided to come back from London. This is an important issue. I don't see it in a negative light. I think it shows that he's taking it seriously. And although he was in London to talk to the foreign investors, he knew that what they were seeing on the TV screens would not be positive. And that the important point was him to say, I'm going back to tackle this problem, to negotiate an outcome. Because in a way, if you don't get the politics of that province right, you're not going to get the economics right. So quite clearly, I think that the pictures and the visions of our president going to Mahikeng today is a positive for the foreign investors. But what matters now are the outcomes. What will be the decisions? Because there are clearly real grievances here about delivery, about poverty, about corruption, about state capture. It's really a symbolism of many of the other things that our president has said he wishes to eradicate and to stamp out, and which the ANC is indeed committed to. So I think the outcome of these discussions and what decisions will be taken to correct the situation and avoid further violence in that province is very important. And the important point also that needs to be borne in mind is that while our president is talking to foreign investors in London, we are destroying the foreign business in Mahikeng. It's not a good image. And so that's something that needs to be addressed as well. So I think it's very important that there is proactivity to not only deal with the political issues, but also to begin to turn the real economic grievances on the ground around, including what's happening to the local business community.
That's an important thing, isn't it? Because you've got many small businesses there, but clearly the conditions are not conducive for them to grow.
Absolutely not. I mean, we want rural development. We don't want it all in the urban areas. But the fact remains that you want local business to thrive. Small business, nationally and regionally, are the main generators of jobs. So you don't want to damage confidence. You don't want people to say, well, I'm going to close my shop or close my business. I'm going to move somewhere else or to another country, or as the case may be. You want to be able to say, we will preserve stability. We will take the right political decisions that will help to create that stability in the long term. I'm not talking about a cosmetic situation, because there are clearly organic issues in the province that are serious and need to be addressed. And I think it is that perception, it is that understanding that led our president to say, I'm getting on an aircraft and I'm coming back, I'm going to sort this out.
But of course, he has two important roles he's playing. He's the president of South Africa, but he's also the president of the ANC that goes into an election next year, taking into account its reduced majority in previous elections. How important do you think this balancing act is going to be between satisfying various factions within the ANC involved in this Mahikeng issue and serving the country?
Well, I am not a political scientist, I'm just an economist. But what I can say is that these issues and how they are resolved have got economic and business consequences. And that's why the business community and indeed economists are interested in what's happening, because it has these wider implications. Certainly our president has a track record of skillful negotiation, of having to do a balancing act at many levels of our society, and in his previous negotiations, which helped to create the new South Africa and the Constitution. I think these skills are going to be heavily tested because of the factionalism within his own party. And of course, you will notice that the whole team there is very much an ANC team, because top of the list is really to sort this out politically, and hope in that way you will send the right message to the country as a whole, not only to Northwest, because quite clearly Northwest is a trouble zone that needs to be sorted out. Something has seriously gone wrong there, and so that has to be put right sooner rather than later.
Raymond, let me ask you about the economy of that province. I mean, much of it has depended on mining up to now. If it's true that mining is indeed in decline, how does the economy of that province need to be transformed to ensure it thrives?
Well, what it has to do, as each province has to do, and as the country has to do, it has to look at its strengths. What are the strengths of that region? Is it tourism? Is it agriculture? To some extent, it's still mining, of course. But nonetheless, so you want to have a sort of mini national development plan for the province, which helps the people to develop. Of course, it's linked to the fortunes of the country as a whole. But every province does have some room to maneuver. And I think what would be important, whether there's if there's any new leadership in the province or whether it's a continuation of the present one, a high priority has got to be, what do we do about socio-economic development in ways that respond to the real grievances that have been expressed? In fact, you want to turn Northwest, as you'd want to turn the country, into a delivery state, a delivery province, because that's really what people are talking about. They're saying, here are the factors we have grievances about that have stood in the way of delivery. We're not getting what we've been promised. We see corruption, we see indeed state capture. All these things are coming together in an economic setup that is not working for a large number of people. But as I said before, there are some political decisions that have to be taken in order to unblock some of the obstacles that stand in the way of solving the grievances that have been highlighted by this violence, and also including the violence against business in their town.
Good talking to you, Raymond Parsons. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
for your
much.
time this evening. Raymond is an economist with Northwest University Business School.